Welcome back, True Seeker. It is a Sunday, July 28th, 2024. Today is the 110th anniversary of World War I officially beginning, a month after the assassination of Franz Ferdinand. At the time of this anniversary, again, the rumors of war, rumors of a much greater war with Israel expanding into Lebanon after today's and yesterday's events, where supposedly Hezbollah of Lebanon attacked the Golan Heights, which caused Israel to take its air force, largely paid for by U.S. taxpayers, deep into Lebanon and bomb there. And another attack also on the Palestinians, reportedly killing 19 children at least. And again, if you guys look into 1968, you'll see that something was discovered about the Quran called the Quran Code, where the whole book is based on 19. And it's interesting because the lead hijacker on 9/11 was supposedly born in 1968. He was the lead hijacker of 19 hijackers. And, of course, 1968, the year that 911 became the National Emergency Dialing Code and World Trade Center construction began. A lot of agendas went into motion in 1968, but it was the year of the Quran Code. Eventually, 9/11 happened in 2001. We were told by the leader of Israel at the time, Ehud Barak, to attack Afghanistan and Iraq, which is exactly what we did. I think it might have been him to first say that we need to declare a war on terrorism, which is exactly how we phrased it. And then not long after, we had a new president who had a similar name, also another Barack, and he escalated the wars over there after the Democrats took the House, Senate, and Oval Office, largely campaigning on ending the wars. Obama never said anything about ending the wars, but a lot of the other Democrats and the hype, that was kind of like the Democratic consensus, the mindset that if they all win, they're going to end the wars. But no, once Barack Hussein Obama got in there, he bombed the Muslim people even more with his very Muslim-sounding name, after nearly a decade of fear-mongering of the names Saddam Hussein and Osama bin Laden. But anyway, back when 9/11 happened, I was a younger person. I was 18 years old, and I knew in every matter of my being that I had been lied to that day. It was just such an obvious lie. It was such an obvious lie, and then the numbers about it. Again, it never sat right with me. So here we have been for next month. It'll be 11 years of teaching what took me a while to figure out. I was looking for the answer to what on 9/11 I started asking, what is it about numbers in these people? Like World War I. Here we are on the anniversary. They say World War I ended on November 11th. Think about that date, 11/11. It's all ones, right? World War I ends on a date with all ones. And they say it ended at 11 a.m. And again, if you look into Franz Ferdinand, his assassination, they say, is what jumped off the war a month later. Look at the car he was in, the license plate on it. It has the number sequence 11/11/18. That's when the war ended, November 11th, 1918. And I mean, we were told all through slave school that those who don't know history are doomed to repeat it, and supposedly that's why we went to history class and learned supposedly important events. But, oh boy, my brain is failing again. Oh, my brain. What was I going to say about slave school that they don't teach us? There's so many things they don't teach us. They certainly don't teach us about the number rituals. But, anyway, it doesn't matter. What I want to do is I want to play a critique of my work. Somebody uploaded this in 2022. This video was, I just caught wind of this the other day. Somebody sent this to me. This was from September 28th, 2022, about, maybe a week after I'd gotten back from New York, from Seattle to New York, bringing people together, educating about how, what really governs over us, how they really operate, how they do work by a numerical code, a Kabbalistic code, how they make history repeat itself. I was going to say, in our 13 years of slave school, they certainly didn't tell us about the Balfour Declaration, which came out of the time of World War I, where there was this planned Jewish state in Palestine, or theoretically that was one of the original spots that was chosen, and that's where it ended up being. There were a few other places considered. But again, they don't teach us about the Balfour Declaration. They don't teach us about how in 1933, how after Adolf Hitler took power, that there was an arrangement made with Jewish Germans to send 60,000 Jewish Germans to Palestine to begin to form a state. I mean, you start to look at all these things, you're like, this is a different story than exactly what they give us in slave school, where this evil man Adolf came out of nowhere and he did this really bad thing to Jewish people, and then they had to create a new state. It's like, that's the way we learned it in slave school, but that's not really the way it was. It was planned long in advance. Again, I don't remember ever in slave school learning about the agreement between the German Nazis and the German Jews. And again, for anyone out there who's like, that never happened, look it up. Look it up and tell me it didn't happen in 1933. The original plan, 60,000 German Jews, again, to be sent there. And remember, there's been a sect of Judaism that's been very opposed to this idea of a Jewish state. Those who go by Jewish scripture, it's in the scripture that they're not to have their own state until the Jewish Messiah arrives. And then again, some people say, well, the Jewish Messiah was Jesus, so he did arrive, so we can have a state. But actually, that most of the people in Israel don't say that at all. But there are some people who would be along those lines. Some people do think Jesus is the Jewish Messiah returned. Anyway, when I was 18 and 9/11 happened, I really didn't like how big and ugly that day was and how massive the lies seemed to be, and then what it led to, especially, 20-some years of needless war, death, killing, just waste in so many ways you can't even count. And then remember, at the end of it, the government collapses on the Jesuit order's birthday. And as we're going to get to, I got to play this clip, though, from a couple years ago and respond to it, but again, we guys, we're coming up on the 71st anniversary. Right now in Western media, they're telling us that Iran, who backs Hamas and Hezbollah, it's their things, that they're the terrorist organizations, and that's why these wars are happening that could escalate. But again, with regards to Iran being the funder, the CIA, America, and the UK did overthrow Iran in 1953. And look up what day it started. Look up what day the coup of Iran started. It started August 15th, the Jesuit order's birthday. Why so many funny things on that date? Look at what Nixon did with gold on August 15th in history. So much funny business on August 15th. Donald Trump, who everyone thinks is such a great guy, Jesuit educated, his brother just drops dead out of nowhere on August 15th. Every year I'm talking about August 15th. But this year will be the 71st anniversary of the overthrowing of Iran, or it's starting on that date, August 15th. They say by the 19th it was overthrown. That 19th thing again. But the 71st anniversary matters because remember, this war began in Israel on Putin's 71st birthday, 71 days before the Pope's birthday. And again, the 71st anniversary coming up. If you're new here, Gematria, the Kabbalistic practice of coding numbers into words. Catholic equates to 71 when you run the alphabetic order forwards. It equals 145 when you run it in reverse, like there's 145 more chapters in the Catholic Old Testament, and Israel was created in a very Catholic Jesuit ritual on the 14th day of the 5th month. Like 145, again, synced up on a calendar that's in tribute to the Catholic Pope that was installed by a Jesuit priest. But anyway, I got to play this clip real quick. Let me flip over the audio settings, and I'll look at the chat. You guys let me know if once I start the clip, please, if the audio is coming through clearly. But if you want to check out this channel, it's called Harmful Content. And maybe that's why there's, maybe it says it all right there. Harmful Content. Again, this was uploaded to his channel September 28th, 2022, shortly after we'd crossed the nation, bringing people together, educating about how our government, other governments of the world, seemingly part of this new world order that past presidents and others have spoken about, this is how they operate day by day, ritualistically by a numerical code. And again, I've been educating about this for 11 years. I feel like what I've taught is self-evident and anyone should be able to understand the value in it. But I was just blown away listening to this. So I got to play this clip here. And the audio for me should not sound as clear right now, but I did it for the clip. So here's the clip. I might have to pause a few times to address as we go, but this was somebody critiquing, in this video, it wasn't just a critique of me, he critiqued several other people, but at the beginning, he starts off going after my work, and for anyone who feels this way, I want to play it just so I can address, because to me, it feels like, God, how could somebody be saying this in September of 2022 in light of all that we'd shown? I mean, but by then, I had multiple books out. My second one came out right as the pandemic was starting and said exactly when they were going to end their bullshit, and it called it dead on as soon as the year of the tiger came around. I just don't understand how, 2 years after this can be said. But somehow, some way, this must be the majority mindset. Otherwise, you would see more people resonating with the work. And anyhow, here it is.
He put out a video, I saw it on BitChute, where Paul Enslaved had a conversation with Gematria Effects or whatever. I used to be subscribed to him. I unsubscribed to him a little while ago because to me the whole numbers thing, it doesn't add up to anything, to use a pun. It doesn't it's like, okay, when you go to somebody and you show them these numbers, it's like, okay, what are they supposed to do? It's like, okay, even if people are, or even if events happen on these dates and follow these numbers, is it a coincidence? Is it intentional? Is it an act of some divine presence? It's like, it doesn't really leave anybody with anything. It's not really based, in my opinion, in reality. Me, I'd like to stick to facts and empirical evidence, and not just numbers that a lot of different things can be inferred off of or inferred from, and for instance, I'd like to go into the history of the Constitution and talk about the things that the Anti-Federalists said about the Constitution. So to me, this is a little bit more relevant. People can do more with this information. And if you're asking them yourself, well, what can they do with this information? Well, with this information, they can see that the empirical problem is actually the Constitution. The Constitution allows for a lot of these abuses. These people, they say the Constitution, or they say these actions are unconstitutional, and they don't realize, no, they're actually not unconstitutional. You just don't understand the Constitution, and you don't understand how the Constitution actually allows for the government to violate our rights under certain circumstances. So that is something I think that people can do more with, because then they can work on a new Constitution, or they can think about ideas of a better Constitution that better secures our liberties. These are things that they can do in reality, not in magical fantasy land, which is what we're going to get into. But what are you supposed to do with these numbers? Are you supposed to start practicing magic? Am I supposed to start doing magic with numbers? I don't understand. What am I supposed to do with these numbers? Am I supposed to bring these numbers to a court and submit them as evidence against these corrupt people? Am I supposed to use these numbers to prove corruption? Why do I have to do that? Why do I have to use these numbers? There's plenty of things in the empirical world, there's plenty of things in reality that prove their corruption without having to use these numbers. What else am I supposed to use with these numbers? Am I supposed to use these numbers to prove that they're cultist? Well, obviously they're cultist. There's plenty of other things that you can be using to prove that. So I don't understand what these people like Zach over at Gematria Effect want to do with these numbers. Actually, the only purpose I can see for these numbers, the only purpose I can see for all of this magic stuff that they like to fixate on, is to entertain people. It makes for very good entertainment, and it satisfies this desire for fantasy that a lot of people have. So I came across this guy though from High Impact Flicks.
Okay, so near the end, he gets into some more, but he's pretty much just repeating himself. But to me, it's unbelievable to listen to. First of all, he's going, what are you supposed to do with these numbers? I was subscribed to them for a while. It's well, if you were subscribed to me for a while, I'm pretty sure you had an idea of what you could do with the numbers. Since, again, we've changed a lot of people's lives with the numbers in multiple ways. There's people who've made a lot of money off rig sports. rig market, rig crypto. I mean, that's one way. That's not even what the main purpose ever was. The main purpose was to expose who is performing these rituals against society that are supposedly these big events that we all need to conform to and give up our rights and liberties for and pay more taxes for. Again, I always thought there was something numerical about the rituals that were obvious lies, and I thought if I learned enough about that, I might be able to figure out who was doing this and for what purpose. And I think we've securely figured that out and proven it by laying down accurate predictions and showing how the same things consistently line up with the only people the system would make sense for. Again, it's the Jesuits who gave us the calendar and the language, and day after day we're showing how these major rituals in the world are synced with these people, the Pope and the Superior General. And again, if you have a brain, it really is undeniable. I mean, just day after day laying down what we do. He said it's not empirical evidence. I mean, here, empirical evidence is information that is gathered through observation or experimentation that can be used to support or disprove a hypothesis, statement, or claim. It is a vital part of the scientific method, and it is used in many disciplines, including the sciences, epistemology, and law. Now, again, what we've been doing is very much based in this, because I've been teaching the exact same things for 11 years, and it's like at the beginning of COVID. You know, we were way ahead of the curve on everyone. We said, look at how every leader right now is using the same number to tell their populace why they need to submit. Why is it a big 56 show? Why is it in this nation it's 56% this, 56% that? How come it's this other Jesuit leader who also happens to be the 56th mayor or the 56th governor, or he's the president of the United States like Donald Trump, and his 2020, 56 years after his Jesuit education began? Again, from understanding the significance of these numbers, we're at the pandemic, not only able to predict the lockdowns before they came, but the timeline for when they would end their bullshit, which we did, and understood what they were encoding and what these numbers were about, how connected they were to death in light of what Bill Gates has said a decade before the whole thing came. We had, from understanding the numbers, and I hate when people come and call me the number guy. I always understood a lot more about the society before I even understood the number part. It's just once I understood the number part, it just connected all the dots. And it continues to connect the dots day after day. So again, we've been laying down empirical evidence, making accurate forecasts off the information, and proving it in all kinds of different ways. From the way Bitcoin's rigged, to a pandemic's rigged, to a sports game's rigged, to the way an election's rigged. I mean, right now we live in a society of people who are just like, somehow blind to the obvious mockery that is shown to their face. More recently, the Trump shooting where it nicked his ear. I mean, our work cuts through that in 5 seconds. And the book I wrote about presidential assassinations in 2017 is only further validated. What I wrote in that book, in that chapter, is all of these presidential assassinations are connected by the exact same number, 44, the shooting number. Again, did we not have the date circled for something like that to happen, at the start of the year? Did we not circle all the 44 kill dates again at the beginning of the year, only to have our point proven again, month after month? But also, just how, again, talking about Trump and George Wallace for years, their connection through 60. The assassination anniversary of George Wallace comes on the 60 days from the assassination attempt on Trump in the year of the 60th election. Again, that guy who's listening, well, what don't you get? I mean, you're making that video, 2 months after Trump's ex-wife fell down the stairs and died? I mean, if you're subscribed to my channel, I imagine you hear that video. I made a big deal about that. I said, okay, we've been tracking these rituals with the Jesuit Ignatian here. On the same day Trump comes out and says he's going to run in the 60th election, his ex-wife falls down the stairs and dies? I mean, he made that video in the months after, just another year of explaining how rigged the NBA Finals were, calling exactly what two teams it was going to be, well before the playoffs got underway, how it was all synced up with the Pope. It finished exactly like how we said it would. I mean, again, what are the point of these numbers? I mean, where have you ever seen anyone do anything like this in the world before we came along? I've never seen anybody do anything like this in the world before I came along. Not even close. It kills me that people are too dumb to give us the flowers we deserve for what we've done. You're like, what have you done? Are you serious? I've exposed the illusion that so many of you worship. You guys worship this illusion. The false, I mean, did you hear what he got into? You could tell that he was in the illusion. He's like, I respect more the content. It's like, why don't you learn what I'm talking about and learn about who James Madison actually was and why the Jesuits came out of suppression when James Madison was the president. This country was formed in the time of their suppression. There's a reason they came out, him the father of the Constitution, while he was the president, perfectly synced with his birthday, by the same exact numerical patterns they operate by to this very day, which shows the same thing that was going on in the time of James Madison is the same thing going on now. Only they have hundreds more years experience and a much greater technological advantage. Empirical evidence, how is my work not empirical evidence? Is there a degree of truth of one of his criticisms about how you can take, the information and spin it off in your own way? Absolutely. All things have their shortcomings. You see all kinds of people take this work and do really dumb things with it. The most popular Gematria channel is a guy that uses Gematria to prove that this celebrity is that celebrity. He'll go, look, this celebrity's name equals 57. This celebrity's name equals 57. They kind of look alike. They're the same person. It's like, okay, this is totally worthless. Compare that with what we've laid down. I've been trying to finish this book on 201. My last book covered it well enough, so it's not like I even really need to get another book out in the world about it. But we've learned a lot more about why 201 is so important to the Cabal and the Jesuits and the Illuminati and what it all goes back to. And as we've gone on, we've learned even more. It makes so much sense that Ignatius of Loyola, the founder of the Jesuits, who created essentially this 201 cult, was a part of the Alumbrado, the Illuminati of its time. And again, the more modern Illuminati, founded the same year as America, founded by a Jesuit, Adam Weishaupt, who just happens to die in history 201 days after the anniversary of its establishment. But again, in the time we've been tracking 201, look at all the mega 201 rituals that have happened. Even just recently, paying all that money to Israel and Ukraine on the 201st day of the war. I mean, haven't we been tracking all the 201s with the war up to that point? Biden puts his John Hancock on it that day. The same Biden who met with Putin right before the war broke out 201 days after the first Jesuitic year ever began. I just don't understand how somebody can be like, he made that video in the time that we were following. There were so many crazy rituals of the Jesuitic year. I mean, he's sitting there watching and he's like, I don't understand what the point of knowing this is. Dude, it's showing you who runs your world. It's crazy how people deny it. I don't know, literally, all of you guys who come here and leave comments occasionally, and YouTube pretty much zaps them all now because they see these as anti-Semitic comments, but before YouTube was zapping as many comments, people were always trying to come here and say the Jesuits are nothing, it's the Jews who run the whole show. But again, just logical questions. Why are we on the Jesuit calendar then? Because we are. This calendar that says today's July 28th was given to us by a Jesuit priest, Christopher Clavius. Again, why are we speaking a language that goes back to the Catholic Church? Why didn't they just have the whole world get on the Hebrew calendar and learn Hebrew? Why is Israel has two main languages, Hebrew and English. English, the language of the world, the one that was etched about in the Georgia Guidestones, no doubt, the same ones that came down 201 days after the Pope's birthday. They had to get rid of their world domination plans, their world depopulation plans 201 days after the Pope's birthday. And don't forget, it all started with that 201-page book in 1968, The Population Bomb, about how something urgently needed to be done about the world population in the decades ahead. And again, you see the 201 number over every major agenda. It's over the, I don't know what the politically correct term is to, I guess, the changing your genitals agenda. Is that a nice enough way to say it? The changing your genitals agenda. That thing's got 201 all over it in a million different ways we covered. The pandemic, I mean, do I even need to get into it? Event 201. The wars ever since 9/11. The Twin Towers that became zero, that became one. Understanding what this stuff means and why they use it. Again, why do they use 201? Because in Hebrew it represents light, enlightenment, knowledge. Like what the occult have. They have all this old world knowledge that everybody else forgot about. And does it have real spiritual power? Does it have real sorcery power? Is it a real spell that's having influence over the minds of the masses? I still to this day do not know the definitive answer to that question, but the more I've looked at it, the more it seems like it does to a degree. There is a method to the madness. There is a reason that they do it. These things will only be fully understood when enough people are looking at these things. It's just, you guys, I've been so annoyed the last couple of weeks because look at what happened. Look at what just happened on the 201st day of the year. I mean, have we not been educating for now almost 5 straight years about big tech, the Jesuit fingerprints all over it, the 201s everywhere, why Google celebrates their birthday the same day as the Jesuits were recognized by Roman history? I know I was at the Google campus April of 2023 confronting, a group of probably 300 employees out in their lunch area to themselves. And right then they just had mass layoffs at Google and a big 201 ritual synced with their owner where they got mass emailed off, or they got mass laid off through email. I mean, I was teaching them in person about the 201s. Now, on the 201st day of the year, the largest global tech outage, one of the biggest problems in the world of tech, cyberspace, since the WannaCry virus, which had the 201s all over it and was also connected to Microsoft, just like this recent CrowdStrike thing, when Microsoft was founded by that guy, Mr. 201 himself, Billy Goat Gates, the main co-sponsor of Event 201. Again, I understand that these more recent things have happened since he made that video, but that video that I just played, that clip, I mean, he might as well make the same statement today. When he made that video in September of 2022, we had already, did he not tune into our live streams when we were out in New York? Why does that guy think that YouTube just deleted the whole channel after we got back from New York? I mean, isn't that obvious that they don't want the information out there? They don't want to see that, a relatively small YouTuber can go across the country and bring a crowd of people in each city and make people stop and listen in New York City. New York's a busy place. We made a lot of people stop and listen. They were getting what I was putting down. They'd never heard it before. How's somebody going to say they were subscribed to my channel and never understood what the point of the numbers was? Because it was proof of what was going on. It was the evidence of the deception, the code that's literally put down every time. I mean, just like right now, we're talking about how many times have I talked about war, world war, Iran and Hamas and the number 42? I mean, probably at least 100 times. I bet you if you looked at all the videos I've done, which is at this point well over 10,000 videos, we're probably approaching 15,000 videos at this point. I would guess as a conservative estimate, at least 100 of those 15,000 videos, and going back to, we're talking about 2014, probably the first time we ever talked about, probably before that we were even talking about that, 2013 it might have been. But the same thing, and now here we are exactly 42 weeks after the war began, and the anniversary of World War I. I mean, it just couldn't be any more 42. And all the news media this weekend, just like they're always doing, just pushing this fear. Again, we don't need to live in a world where there's always rumors of war and rumors of this horrible thing. This is an agenda. This is to keep us in a certain state. And yes, sometimes they do make these things finally pop off. I mean, they've had rumors of a world war with Iran for 20-some years of my life now. Is it eventually going to happen? Like we said, there's a reason, seemingly there's a reason Netanyahu came back on December 29th, Albert Pike's birthday. And yes, in recent years, a lot of things online have gone after Albert Pike's letter about 3 world wars. Again, you can look up the letter. You can look up the publishing date. It's addressed to a man named Mazzini. It's dated August 15th, 1871. I guess people could say it's a fraud. But again, this has been known about for a long time, Albert Pike's letter about 3 world wars. In recent years, the media has really gone after saying that this thing is nobody knows if it's true. It could be a fraud, a forgery. But think better. Doesn't it seem beyond chance that Netanyahu came back on Pike's birthday? And isn't it funny that Pike did date that letter on August 15th, 1871, which is the Jesuit order's birthday. That's the day they were credited in history in Paris, France. Again, they're recognized by Rome September 27th. That's Google's birthday. Don't forget Sundar Pichai's 201, the current head of Google. And he comes out of India, which is a nation conquered by the United Kingdom, just like we are. Again, the sun never sets on Britain because it's everywhere. And what's been in Britain for a long time, the Catholic Church. But yeah, anyway, it's just, I realize that this depression has really killed my work because historically, people would have, I mean, I'm here teaching about 201 every day. How many comments were left about, wow, this global tech edge on the 201st day of the year really speaks to what you've been educating about for all this time? Who's running these things? I mean, there's almost no comments like that. And there's almost no growth. And the video about it that day gets almost no views. So it is just a really frustrating time. It's hard because I know that what we've taught is absolutely true and correct and important. And if people did recognize it, it would pull them out of this illusion that, and that's the thing too, you guys, just escalating the war right as the Olympics come underway, right? You got the eyes of the world on the Olympics. Remember what I just told you about the Last Supper thing they did along religious lines that's created more division? It codes the same numbers, the 72, just like how that was the year at the Olympics of the terrorist attack by supposedly Black Sunday, a Palestinian group on a group of Jews in Germany. Again, Germany too, right? Just playing on themes. Hitler equals 72 in Gematria, like Jesuit order. Again, like how we got the first Jesuit Pope on the 72nd day of the year. But, yeah, it's just, again, I see the same people who all these years have denounced the work and never had anything positive to say and been like, oh yeah, just count a number, it doesn't really matter. But I mean, these same channels that will not ever recognize the value of what I've done, I can't decide at this point if it's like they're literally too dumb. It doesn't seem possible to be that dumb, or if they are just straight up shills. But it's frustrating either way. It's like even guys like Pockets of the Future. The other day he's streaming, he's like, oh, look, the 322 they mentioned. Oh, some people think those numbers or something, or they make them scarier. It's just like, I mean, I don't understand where, again, I don't see any real argument coming from anywhere in the world that there is another group outside it. I mean, okay. No, don't let me misquote myself. We have been consistently showing, especially in the post-event 201 era, how perfect rituals are day in and day out that create the headlines that are meant to shape people's minds and mentality and get them to walk along with agendas that authorities want to hold over them. And again, you look at what the overwhelming thing is of the 21st century. It's give up a little bit of your rights and liberties for a little bit more safety, a little bit more surveillance, a little bit more taxation, a little bit more militarization of your police, more and more armored police vehicles in your town. And again, in the time that we've supposedly been doing this to make a better, safer nation, we're seeing our nation break down. Too much fear, too much depression, too much anxiety. I mean, it's just... being from the West Coast, if you guys go back and look, if you can find the content from when I first started, I was predicting how as this 21st century moves on, I feel like my city, Portland's going to become one of the worst places. It wasn't even a bad place at all back then when I said that. It hadn't even started yet, and it's like literally the worst city in America now. But the reason I knew it is because, Rip City. That's Portland's nickname, and I always thought it was a funny nickname, Rip City, R.I.P. City, and it's like literally what it is now. It's like a city of dead overdose people all over the place, And then again, people say, like, how many times have I taught about fentanyl and it being approved by the FDA in 68? I mean, this year on the 68th day of the year, the governor of Oregon, Christine Gregoire, has to come out and say our policy on fentanyl has failed and we're going to need to reverse it. I mean, you really think that's an accident? It was March 8th, 3/8. The 68th day of the leap year. Again, fentanyl approved in 68. The governor's name equals 68, like CIA. Again, I think these things are revealing. You start to see this is everywhere. You start to realize it's like, yeah, this does seem to be what it is. It is like the intelligence agency governs over us. Just lying to us every day, keeping secrets. Everyone's like, how do they keep the secrets? It's like, well, a huge part of your government's black budget. I mean, you have a massive CIA intelligence agency, not to mention it was created in a huge Jesuit ritual on the 201st day of the Pope's age. But, yeah, again, it was March 8th as well, just 3/8, just like fentanyl's 38. I mean, how many times have we talked about 38 and death? They're putting it in songs, they're putting it in movies, they're putting it in shows. Amazon's making Agatha Christie's The ABC Murders. Hollywood's putting out murder by numbers with a 38 right on the movie poster when death, murder, killing, R.I.P., Fentanyl, they all have that 38, just like Oregon. And Oregon fell apart after George Floyd was killed on the corner of 38th Street. And you still have like conservative media saying that that guy only died from a fentanyl overdose. Again, this is all part of the PSYOP. Fentanyl, 38. Minnesota, there are 5 of the 50 states do equal 38, so you have a 1 in 10 chance. It's the most common number of any state, interestingly enough, 38. And remember, it's a special number. English equals 38, Gematria 38, Energy 38, Kabbalah 38. The nation's capital's on the 38th parallel. Again, the 5 38 states: Florida, Louisiana, Minnesota, Colorado, Oregon. And don't forget, Colorado's the 38th state in order to statehood. No one's more 38 than Colorado is. So they got their school shooting agenda really popping off with Columbine, and it's just gone crazier and crazier ever since. But yeah, again, it's just, I mean, that guy said that the only reason I've had a channel is to entertain people. I mean, it just, you can't worry about what everybody says about you, but you see how so many people just speak with confidence from such an ignorant place. It's like, my channel has never been about entertainment. People might be entertained by the way I rant and the things I say, but my channel has never been about entertainment. It's been about educating and waking people up to the tyrannical agenda we live under, because I've known since the time I was 18 years old that if something's not done about this corrupt government that just lies to us every day, and this corrupt media that just lies to us every day, that we will get led to a very bad place, and there very well will be a lot of very bad consequences for many more people. That's what I've always thought. That's the way it's always seemed. And that's the way it's been to an extent up to this point. But it can get so much worse. Hopefully it doesn't. But I mean, the signs, I don't really see any signs that things are going to get better. Again, they did have those monuments up for 42 years. 42 years, mind you, that special number. That war number. And war can get rid of a lot of people really fast. Funny enough, the V word, the VACCINE word, that word also has the 42. Remember, they started testing it up in the 42nd state in Bill Gates' backyard where the big needle is, right across the street from his foundation. Funny enough, computer and internet 42, right? He started out as Mr. Computer and Computer Virus, and then he became Mr. Jab to save the world. Again, listen to what he said in 2010. For anyone, if you're brand new or maybe you don't know, listen to Bill Gates' 2010 TED Talk. It's not even 30 minutes long. You only have to really listen to the first 7 minutes to hear what I want you to hear, but you should listen to all of it. He'll tell you what those jabs can be used for. We got to get the missions down, and we got to get one of these categories to 0, possibly even people. And when it comes to the people category, here's my number 1 way to get rid of the population. Again, he speaks very clearly. It's just like, wow. And Google, for years, has taken down our whole channels for just like playing that clip. It's like, wow, we can't even play that clip. Was he not supposed to say that? Is it not supposed to be brought up? Why don't they just take the whole TED Talk off the internet? They might have by now. They've taken so many things off the internet. But yeah, if you don't have that, save that somewhere. Find it, download it, save it. Bill Gates, 2010, TED Talk, Innovating to Zero. I don't know what it is about numbers and people and why just so many reject trying to understand what's being done to us every day. Again, how just understanding this simple ABC 1, 2, 3 code. Another guy went in his live stream recently, and he was just saying how the numbers don't matter to anyone, and he's somebody who's speaking out against the federal government. And I said, well, it's another angle for people to see how they're being manipulated by the government. He thought it was so dumb what I showed him about the Key Bridge. Again, how's it dumb? Key Bridge equals 86. It just comes crashing down on the 86th day of the year, 86 weeks after Nancy Pelosi shook hands with the leader of Singapore. And then it crashes down on her birthday. And the ship that took out the bridge was the Dolly from Singapore. I mean, 86 literally means to get rid of. Isn't that like number language that almost everyone knows? If you 86th something, you got rid of it. They 86th the Key Bridge in an obvious ritual. And again, we were on top of it. That day we said, well, it's pointing to something coming at the Golden Gate Bridge. And the next thing you know, it's her husband's birthday. And the Golden Gate Bridge is shut down. I mean, there's so many advantages to the knowledge. I mean, we're just constantly ahead of the curve over here. Everybody else can't figure out what's going on. They're like, oh, have you watched the video in slow motion? There was like, I think I saw 2 explosions on the bridge, so it must have been demolished. It's like, yeah, we didn't even need that footage. Yeah, we already had it figured out. Again, it's another federal psyop to dupe the taxpayer out of more money. Purposely demolish a bridge on the black side of town, then ask for the billions, build the bridge back, and build the port bigger. Yeah, I don't know what to do, you guys. It's just... At this point, censorship and all, we should have reached a lot more people. It's, yeah, and just... It's hard to know how to push forward from here, really. It's just, I mean, I think really what it's going to take is somebody who has video editing skills. Maybe I just need to go back to school and learn how to video edit. I never wanted to have edited videos. It's funny how people would rather watch an edited video just chopped up. I always just like to do things fluid. So you saw the whole thing, everything was within context. But yeah, I guess people's time... You see the videos that get views. They're well edited. They got like a flash appeal. It's what the common person is used to watching. But to just watch what's gone down in recent months, and almost nobody in the world seemed to care at all. But just the work just stays as stagnant as ever. Every single month, more and more support falls off. It's like I don't know what to do. I mean, I know I've taught it damn well. It's showing everything that we've shown that I've taught is showing that it's not incorrect. The huge payment for the war. I mean, not to mention they paid $95 billion on the 201st day of the year. I mean, how many times have I taught about the 20195 code? It goes with the Martin Luther penning the 95 Theses and the Jesuits being created 201 months later. It goes with Martin Luther King Jr. getting killed on the 95th day of the year and the nation's first major gun control 201 days later. And again, people say, well, what do the numbers reveal? It reveals just how ritualistic that is, how ritualistic the killing of Martin Luther King Jr. is. What needs to be looked into further are the people who are around MLK influencing him to change his name to Martin Luther. How long was his demise planned? Him and Malcolm X both get it at the same age in the same number ritual. And funny enough, again, Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. only met one day ever in history. And it's a day every year, a high Jesuit ritual. It's March 26th. It's Nancy Pelosi's birthday. It's the day the bridge came down this year. Look it up. The only time MLK and Malcolm X ever met was March 26, 64. That was a date with 93 numerology. Malcolm X equals 93 like Martin Luther King Jr. And neither of them were born with those names. They both get killed in 44 rituals, the shooting number, all over assassinations throughout history, right up to the present. Trump on the 44 day, supposedly. Well, yeah, censorship is part of it too. There's like a chosen club where people's views, like they're promoted by YouTube because they're essentially bolstering mainstream narratives. We know it's a big part of that too, but again, it just doesn't make sense that I've been to a point where I've built pretty large channels several times, and then all these years later, like almost nobody can find their way back to the channels as they get deleted. I mean... Like, I can't make sense of it. And like I said, just some major events have happened in the world that should show definitively that what I've been educating and teaching about is correct. Who's running the show, why they keep coming back to the 201. It's not an accident. It's not a coincidence. It's a repetitive pattern all over, the rituals that have shaped this nation. And not just this nation. Shape this world as we know it. I appreciate that, DVB. I think you were the only one who did. I appreciate it, though. Yeah, whatever I was at last week, we're down even further. It's always just a slow trickle downwards. for the last several years now. And that also seems manipulated, but it's just, yeah, I see the things that have flourished and done well and gotten a lot bigger in the world. And I just see how, I mean, still, it's like we're living at such a serious moment in history where our rights, our understanding of what America is, has just been so trampled over. And almost nobody cares. I mean, everybody's almost still in the same mindset. They just want to be entertained. They want to be involved in drama. Yeah, it's bad, you guys. So I'm hoping when the little one comes around, it inspires me to, I don't know, somehow reach more people. I guess I got a part of it's on me too. I mean, the censorship hasn't helped me, but I guess I just haven't done a good enough job as well in communicating it to people and making people resonate with the work. But I don't know. I just feel like the information in itself, a lot more people should appreciate it, respect it, be sharing with others about it. Literally, like no buzz in any other channels. I mean, like nobody's covered. It's so weird. Ever since Kobe died, can't get any more views. It's like nobody else hardly at all wants to do interviews anymore. I'm like, why? I mean, you would have thought more people would have been into the work in light of Kobe's death. Just, I can't figure out this Twilight Zone, man. I can't figure it out. But anyway, Truth Seeker, as the days approach, in case they do have any big plans, again, like I always say, just make sure if you live in a city where they turn off your power, because again, remember that it's like what Janet Napolitano was saying in 2013 when she left, that the next 9/11 is not if but when, and it's going to be a major attack on the power grid, likely a cyber attack. One of the things they're talking about in the news today is how Iran has essentially EMP weapons. If you're not following the news this weekend, that's another thing they're getting into, that Iran's got these essentially electromagnetic pulse weapons that can knock out targeted areas of grid. The way I heard them describe it, they said it's not like sophisticated enough to take out a whole city right now, but pockets of areas. Anyway, just with this continual fear mongering, you know at some point they're going to create, this situation that they've been telling us is inevitable, and it remains to be seen how bad it could get. But a lot of times, again, they don't even have to do that much to totally get us to bend over and jump on board with their latest tyranny. I mean, they could turn out the power on the nation for a week. It could, and that could be bad. But anyway, I'm just saying, in case something like that does happen, just make sure you're keeping a supply of water and dry food, a little emergency pack. Again, you don't live in fear, but an ounce of preparation is worth a pound of cure. And again, what I've done in the time that I've been, if you will, more paranoid about such an event breaking out, is I've just moved further and further away from the city. And Obama was in office. I remember just one year, his administration rewrote a small section of like the Defense Authorization Act, or I forget exactly what it was, but it was like covered on a news network like Democracy Now! With Amy Goodman at the time. And it was just about how the new language, the update was, again, the United States is now an active battleground on the war on terrorism, where any American can be arrested and detained and held without anyone being notified of what happened to them if they're suspected of being a terrorist. And I don't think that writing was ever taken away, but you see how right now, as they're also trying to build this narrative of like there's a brewing civil war, there could be Americans going against Americans. You saw Bush come out the other year and say that domestic terrorism is the new terrorism focus. Just all this stuff that's happening in the 21st century. I mean, you could see a future country where the government might say that, that this this thing here that's broken off from the America. It's the new Confederates. They might just group everybody in with this, and it would, it'd be a controlled operation, just like how the Civil War was, just like how the Civil War jumped off and all the big Jesuit rituals, and Abraham Lincoln even blamed the Jesuits for the war. But you can imagine how if that kind of dynamic is what became the news and the information, what was going on, you can imagine how the government would enforce policies that, like, if you're not in line with the federal government's message, you are seen as like an enemy of the state. I think that is what a future America is going to look like. Just all these little laws and everything they've been changing. There's going to be a future point where it's a really rough patch in America. It's a hard time. Clean water is few and far between. I mean, we're seeing it even out right here in our local part of the state of Washington, which is how nasty the river's gotten this summer. And it's really weird. It's like, okay, how did it get so bad this summer? And there's no answers, right? The authorities don't have answers. They're trying to figure it out. But anyway, if these days ever come, if these things that I'm talking about, that just this totalitarian state, you're an enemy of the state if you're not totally on board, that they can lock you up and detain you, pull you right out of your house. If this world ever comes about, it's because nobody ever organized against it. It has not happened. There's no resistance really to these things. Well, what are the big gatherings now in the parties, in the rebellious groups, the Proud Boys? I mean, supposedly the gathering of manpower in the U.S. is because they really want their orange man in there. They're just diehards for Trump. It's just unbelievable. It's like, no, there should be something like the Proud Boys. Remember, Proud Boys equals 45 in Gematria, forwards and backwards. It's another, and pretty much all government informants. But again, there shouldn't be gatherings of men to cheer for Orange Man. Again, men who worship a man who worships himself. That's essentially what every Trump supporter is. But there should be real gatherings. That's what should be in the news. It should have to be organic. It should be that Americans are fed up with being lied to by their government, taxed by their government, their own communities not being taken care of, but all this money being shipped off across the world. Like, this is Bush's New World Order, like he told us about in the 90s. But somehow you bring up these things and it's like, oh, New World Order, conspiracy theory? Like, what do you mean conspiracy theory? The presidents of the United States have used this phrase. Eisenhower, all those years ago, when he left office, he said, if something's not done about the military-industrial complex, it's going to grow to be our worst nightmare. Again, this whole nation's pretty much military policy. They really tried to force everybody into the jab, and who produced the jab? The military. It came from bases, Operation Warp Speed. Anyhow, I'm ranting and raving, but yeah, True Seeker, I really am frustrated, and I'm trying to get myself to just a better place for presenting again, because I don't like to feel defeated. I won't say that feeling defeated is not exactly to describe how I feel, but maybe partially defeated. Just thinking, man, how can these channels who've just been taking shots at us all these years still be taking shots? I mean, seriously, just like nothing. You're still. I just can't believe it, man. It just like, and when I think about it, it's the same. Like my friends and family who've been haters from the beginning, they still can't admit it either. Anyway, thank you, Chewy100. They said thank you as always, one of biggest role models. Well, I don't know if I'm being a role model right now. I don't like to be a defeated person, but I gotta change the way I feel around right now. It's just, another part of me another thing that's real is if you guys went back and you scrolled through enough videos when I first started, I used to talk about a lot. I was 30 when I first started making videos. Now I'm 41. Time flies. But I was talking about then, like, how I really like children, but I don't have any children. And I don't know if I'll ever have children until I start to see that there's, like, some kind of positive change happening in the world. I used to really feel strongly about that way. It felt like it would be hard for me to bring children into this world the way it is. And the thing is, as you get older, you start to realize it's like, man, the world's probably going to continue to go on. And if it's ever going to change for the better, you're going to need good people at any moment in history. So maybe even if it isn't fair to bring a child into this world, it's a necessity for the sake of humanity and a possible better future. I always try to be the eternal optimist, but I got to be honest, just the little one's a few months away, and I'm like, man, the river this year, it's like, oh, it's not fair. It's not fair to all the young people of this world. I've been saying this the whole time I've been here, and I've been saying this before I ever understood Gematria. This world is just really not fair to young people, and it becomes less fair to young people every single year. And sure, I knew the phrase too growing up. Who said the world is fair? Right, I get it. And you really look at the way the world is in nature, you could argue in a lot of ways it's not fair. You look in you go out and you look in your front yard, there's like bigger bugs just eating smaller bugs all over. Was that fair to that small bug? He was just like put on the earth to be that bigger bug's. Again, and for all of you guys who think you totally understand God and Creator, again, I think it's arrogant to think that in the first place. I think Creator made a world that we're always supposed to be discovering and understanding more, and our relationship with whatever Creator is continually growing if we're paying attention and trying to, I've talked about this before, when signs come into our life, things that are beyond coincidence, like, okay, I feel like the greater power is trying to communicate with me that either yeah, that's the right thing, or no, you definitely don't do that. That's why you just smashed your foot for even just thinking that. That happens to me all the time. I'll start having a thought, like, and it probably isn't the best thought, and then I'll just like smash my foot. I always feel like, oh man, that's God. He's looking out, actually. My foot hurts right now, but that was the sign right away. I need to stop with all that. Some people might think that's dumb, but like, I swear to God, the only time I smash my foot walking around in the house is anytime I'm having a bad thought. I always feel like it corrects me right away. Anyway, getting off into all kinds of tangents, but yeah, it's just, you got to be real. There's just a lot of bad signs in the world, man. I mean, just all the needless fear, warmongering, literally the toxicity. I'm thinking of the System of a Down song. It's like how old is that song now? I was in college when that came out. It's over 20 some years old, but that song, the toxicity of our cities. I mean, it's been that way, but now even being out here in a small town and just watching how these small town communities, just how the river is so impacted and how everyone's agriculture water is just this nasty stuff coming out. It's sad to see. It's sad to see. And I mean, I saw it long ago. When I was in college, I was coming up with ideas for how to stop trash. I was like, can't we go to some kind of system where it's like all bulk bins and we bring like our Tupperware? We scoop up the rice, we reuse can it be something like that? Why haven't we done those things as a society? I feel like those things should have been 20 years ago. Out here in Washington State, they tax you for bags if you get bags at the store. They want you to use your reusable bags. And I mean, again, taxes and taxes. They're always finding new ways to tax. But yeah, I feel like we really have trashed the earth. We haven't cared about other people. I always see these people just talking so bad about me. I'm like, man, my whole life I've been trying to make like moral decisions and help other people out and think about all types of living creatures. This year, my neighbors are here's something that's going on in my own life right now. My neighbor really wants me to take down the wasp nest off my house. I was taking them down last summer. I used to hate wasps when I was a kid because I always get stung by wasps, especially at the pool. But what I noticed about these wasp species out here, they're not aggressive at all. They're not aggressive. They like to make little nests on your like eaving of your house. But last summer I just started to feel bad because every time I knocked down the nest, they'd be making a new one. They'd be knocking it down again. And this summer I was just like, I'm just going to see what happens if I just let them make their nests. So there's like 6 nests on the house. Does this sound bad? But they're not hurting anybody. And I'm always out. I'm like, when I'm mowing the lawn, they'll like buzz by and check it out. But then they just go back. They realize like, oh, he's just mowing the lawn. I don't know. I've always tried to be nice to living things. And part of the reason why is just because bees are way down. Wasps don't make honey like bees, but they're still pollinators. It's the pollinating thing that's important. So that's what I realized about living in agricultural land. It's like there's just way more insects and animals and critters in the ground. But Yeah, it's funny. It's like no matter what you do in life, you can't make everyone happy. Like my neighbor this morning was over. He's like, "You got to take down those wasp nests. They can be dangerous." I said, "Well, I've kind of been feeling." I said he didn't live next to me last year, but I said last year I was taking them down. I said I just noticed this year I don't take them down. I said they just mind their business. He's like, "Yeah, until they don't." I said, anyway, man, it's just life's funny, but yeah, and again, just seeing like the environment just fall apart around you. It's part of what makes me think that I gotta let the wasp have the nest on the house. I gotta let the birds have. I got two bird nests on the house. Again, our ancestors didn't have to worry about this stuff, right? They didn't live in houses. They lived actually in nature, and their homes were probably made out of fallen trees and whatnot. But anyway, I'm going off on all kinds of side tangents. I need to actually wrap it up here and start dinner, but little one coming in the world, and yeah, I'm just like, man. And again, I'm not the only one. All kinds of people have little ones coming in the world, and it's just. I think though, once the little one's here, it'll motivate me to find a better place than I feel inside. I feel like like my torch is burning out inside. I feel like it'll reignite the torch, if you will. So. But yeah, for anybody out there who can do better than I can, you got video editing skills, you got better presentation skills, you got a better speaking voice. You're an artist. You can sing it. You can make a musical about it. You can again, if you understand that what we're doing here is important, and you can take it to another level, the world needs that. And again, for all the people out there who, I just don't get it with all the haters and all the downplaying of the significance of the numbers. It just blows my mind. All the people that talk mostly a good game, but then when my work comes up, they're like, oh yeah, it doesn't mean anything. It's like I'm listening to your broadcast right here. Now you're still talking about how they stole the election in stole the election. Remember that, you guys. I don't know if anybody else on the tube had it right. I know that we had it right for over a year about why it was going to be Biden number 46. That's the point of understanding these numbers. Proof of how rigged the game is. I mean, the thing they just did with Kamala synced up with Willie Brown. I mean, just the mockery. Okay, I just... Sorry, my mind's like a pinball today. Thank you for becoming a member, Barbara. You didn't have to do that, but I appreciate it. She's a longtime member. Shout out to 13 Serpents, always with the generosity. You also don't have to do that. You've done it so many times. Mr. Scott as well. It's always the same old names. I appreciate all your guys' generosity. I wish you guys didn't have to donate anymore. I feel like you guys do it because you don't see anyone else doing it. But thank you, as always. I appreciate it, Mr. Scott. Yeah, you've called in many times and shared your story, so thank you. But yeah, I do need to get dinner going over here. And hold on, what do you guys what do you guys think I should do in the chat? Should I take down the wasp nest because the neighbor doesn't feel comfortable? I swear these wasps don't do anything. Like I said, the scariest thing is when you're mowing the lawn and then they get irritated by that and then they come buzz around you. But I haven't been stung at all. I just let them check me out and then they go back to their little nest. My neighbor, I like my neighbor though. I like the new neighbor. He's not bad. He's not bad at all. He's not bad at all. Like this is the first like little thing we've had, and he's not like real mad about it. He's just like blown away that I won't take down the nest. So he's like, they don't make honey. I said, yeah, I know, but they're pollinators, and from what I understand, like those creatures are a dying species. I wish it was bees instead of wasps. I have a vendetta against wasps. I got stung so many times by wasps when I was a kid. The first time I got stung, I was a kid in a pool, and it landed on my ear, and I knew not to swat at the bee, so I just sat there calmly. But there was all these other kids in the pool and all this commotion, and I ended up getting stung anyway. It was the worst sting I ever had somehow. I don't know if that thing had more venom, but man, my ears swelled up like so fat. I remember that one hurting. No, the wasps are not aggressive at all. They're literally not. They're just chilling on their nests. However, one of the nests they got going's gotten a lot bigger than the other one, and that's the one I'm debating on. I'm like, Am I letting that one get too big? See, I'm waiting now for my other neighbor to come over. But there hasn't been any problem. There's only one little kid right now in the neighborhood that plays outside, and if I thought they were dangerous to him, I would have already taken it down. But anyway. Well, D26, yeah, I know when you're done with school and you got free time, you'll be just the man to do it. So, D26, take care of everything on your plate first. You don't have to be the one to do it right now. I'm glad you're out there, though. Well, there might be plenty of people who are greater than me, but again, all I'm saying is I get annoyed by all these people who watch all the work that I put in and who should appreciate what we've shown. I mean, I don't know how you couldn't appreciate it at this point. It really does. I guess that's part of it too, because a lot of people I'm talking about are people who want to blame Jews and blame everything on Israel. And I think they see that it's this evidence that I'm presenting contradicts that. And that's part of the reason they can't admit it too. They got to play it down. Again, for all you guys who want to blame Jews, remember, Judaism is really tiny compared to how big Catholicism is. And we're on the Catholic calendar and speaking their language. And again, the war was perfectly synced with the Pope and Superior General, like the 5,000 rituals they've done with it up to the present. So, again, if you're new here and you don't know about the 201s and the Jesuits, I have books. I got thousands of posts, videos. Again, look into the first Pope to live in Suite 201. You'll find out it's Pope Francis, the first Jesuit. Look into all the 201s with the Jesuits that we've been documenting. Nonstop. So wasps are actually native and honeybees aren't, huh? Whoops, I clicked on the wrong thing. The question about the shape of the Earth's got to be a troll. I know, it's just I always get the same comments. The comments always left here. What's the point of these numbers? Like, can you use them to predict or something? It's like, I shouldn't have to answer that question in 2024. Again, show me anyone in the world who's made more correct predictions. Show me anyone in any period of time. Again, our correct predictions and forecasts about the future are off the charts in all areas. News, sports, politics, markets, crypto. Again, you can use this knowledge in many ways. And then idiots will be like, well, you haven't done that much in that area. Why haven't you taken the knowledge and applied it more? I'm working my ass off, keeping up with as much as I can every day. I've shown, without beyond a shadow of a doubt, multiple times how this knowledge applies to all those things. Undeniably. I mean, when you see the market hitting 39,000 for the first time ever, exactly 39 weeks into the Dow's age, and for years we talked about everything in New York's 39, including the Dow Jones. I mean, that should show you how rigged the market is. If you understand how rigged the market is, learn more about it. Take more advantage of it. Again, this knowledge has helped a lot of people change their life position, There's people in this community that now make more money off the knowledge than they do off their day job. That said, in the world of sports, it's become a lot harder. I'll warn you that right now. If you want to use this knowledge in the world of sports, it's a lot more challenging. If you're real selective, though, you can still find gems every day. It's like the Giants were locked city to win today over Rockies to get to 7-0 for the year on the 7-date numerology when Giants equals 70, like 7-0, and they love that number. And there was a Tampa Bay game today that was a lights-out riddle. The Tampa pitcher could pick up his 25th loss, and the 25 could play against I'm trying to remember were they playing the Reds? But anyway, again, this knowledge, rigged sports, rigged politics, and the knowledge shows how it all intersects too. I mean, not that it's separate things, that it's all being controlled by one Jesuit cabal, and it's all lining up through the same characters and players every single time. So, yeah. Anyway, I'm going to continue to pump out the shorter videos. So here's what I notice about that, just in terms of the algorithm. When I do these live streams, right, YouTube punishes my channel for doing these live streams, because if you look at the analytics, it says the average watch time for pretty much any live stream is about 3 minutes, which is sad if it's true. I'm less like, God, I'm making people turn off that fast. I did a 2-hour live stream and the average view duration was 3 minutes. So in YouTube's analytics, if you have a really low watch time or watch percentage, then it makes your stuff like go really to the bottom of the algorithm. Like, oh, that must just be somebody who's like using up all of our bandwidth and nobody wants to watch what they're putting out. And again, they can just manipulate the stats that way, so it does just that. But the thing I noticed about the shorter videos is like, a 5-minute video. It'll say the average watch duration was 4 minutes and 15 seconds. I made a 7-minute video. The average view duration was 5 minutes and 40 seconds. So that ranks a lot higher because people are watching the vast majority of the video. So I just noticed in the last week or so, where I've been churning out a lot of small videos, the channel, it didn't grow great, and I didn't get a great amount of views either, but everything was better. So I'm like, maybe if I just stay consistent with this, it'll help us get to a better number where we're reaching more people. And then I was thinking also, if I just get back in the habit of having like a weekly, historically I've done live streams every day, multiple times a day, but we haven't had TFR for a few months since the radio network went all the way down. But I'm thinking if we get back to a dedicated show, maybe that dedicated show will get better view, like instead of just people watching 3 minutes on average. So... And that's the thing, too. It's just like, man, I did a 2-hour stream and dropped all that information, and the average view duration was 3 minutes. That's all people wanted to take in, huh? So, yeah. All right, I do got to wrap it up and start dinner, you guys. But thank you as well, Carl. Carl, I said you could text in pics. I haven't seen you text in any pics in our contest, but you can do it tomorrow. Appreciate you always supporting, Carl. Thank you. Trey said, by the way, you guys, this is RPM Trey Vietnam. Sure, I love RPM. I love RPM's acronym. It's not revolutions per minute like engines. It's resist political manipulation. So if you guys don't follow RPM Trey Vietnam, again, he's a major advocate for why people should have a protection device and be ready to stand up for what's right in their lifetime, because that day may come. So, again, shout out to RPM Trey Vietnam. And he does have really nice shirts. Resist political manipulation. I got to be honest, though. I wear his shirts all the time. And the yellow one you sent me is actually my favorite one, Trey. Not because I look great in yellow, but I just like how down the back of it, it says in big words, resist political manipulation. But here's the sad thing about that. I've worn those shirts a lot, and I'm out in the grocery store almost every day. I haven't had one person, though, try to start up a conversation about what that means, even in this political climate. So I know it's going to happen eventually, and if I was in a bigger city, it probably would already happen, but I just keep waiting for the day that somebody in the store is like, hey, what's that mean? What's resist political manipulation? It's like, anybody even thought about what that means? Maybe they don't understand what it means. Like, resist political manipulation means don't become like almost everybody else in America who's being manipulated by the television and politicians. It simply means that. So, and again, that's largely what my work's about too. Just showing how both political parties work by they're part of this Kabbalistic system, creating the number generated stories every day. But, yeah, Trey, I don't need any more shirts for a while because, like you see, my whole wardrobe is pretty much your clothes right now. But personally, Trey, I like the shirts with the words more than the graphics. I mean, the graphic ones are cool too, but it's just the words are, it's the resist political manipulation. That's the thing that I feel like everybody needs to get in their head. And your Hug and AR owner shirts are great too. People should think about that as well. I haven't had anybody say anything about that either. So I was the day of the Trump shooting, I was wearing my Hug an AR owner shirt the day after I was wearing it. I was like, let me see if anybody says anything in light of the Trump shooting and then blame it on an AR-15. Yeah, RPM Trey Vietnam. Just like how I have him up on the screen. You see how I have his comment up on the screen? That's his channel. So yeah, just search RPM space Trey. I bet if you just search RPM space Trey, it'll come up. So he's the guy on the corner. A lot of times he's driving in his car talking about stuff too, but does a lot of open carry demonstrations in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and around the state of Iowa. Okay. All right, True Seeker, we'll leave it there for now. Again, let's hope that they don't escalate anything in the world, but just in case they do, you better make sure you just got a little supply on hand. Again, water, dry food, first aid, something to protect yourself with in case you need that. If you don't have a gun or you can't own a gun for whatever reason, again, bear spray. I could almost make an argument that in Fallout World, well, bear spray, if you had absolutely nothing, bear spray would not be the worst thing to have. And then you might not have to worry about accidentally killing people too. But you could definitely take out anyone trying to mess with you. You can definitely blind them. I can tell you how bad the bear spray is. I took it in the face from Antifa. Unprovoked too, man. We were giving out free books to Antifa. See, I want to keep talking about things, but that Antifa thing that day, you could see how some people in that group you can see how some people are like some kind of I don't know if they're undercover police, something, that there's some ringleaders there, and then there's other people who get sucked in that day. The reason that the Antifa got mad is because there were some younger people in that group who were listening to what I was saying, and they were interested in asking questions. And then the one who you could tell was the ringleader, and I already knew that one was the ringleader too. That's the one that ended up spraying me in the face. And I still remember what they were yelling at me the whole time while I was talking to their group. They were telling me to put a mask on. And I kept saying, what kind of anti-fascist are you? You're totally on board with the fascist pandemic, huh? But you're Antifa. You're anti-fascist, but you want me to put a mask on? So anyway, I was annoying that person, but they eventually got me at the bear spray. That stuff is it's hot, it burns, and it surely blinds you. So, and I'll tell you what, if you ever get that on you, don't use water to wash it off. I learned the hard way. Water makes it burn even more. Apparently, milk is the way to do it. So. What? If I'm in a forest, am I choosing the bear or a man? I don't understand what that means. I don't understand that question. Bear spray is just like a more intense version of pepper spray because it's meant to take a bear's eyes out. No, it's a fatter spray. I think it might have a few more chili peppers in it too. It's hot. Because I've seen people take pepper spray in the face, and I mean it's not nice, but it's not like you're blinded. If you didn't see, you guys can look up what happened to me the day I got bear sprayed in the face. I mean, I was blind for over an hour. And it's just people coming and dumping buckets of water over my face until I could finally see again. It took like an hour, and I don't know how many. It was cold because we were in January in Portland. It was a cold day. It was probably like 30-some degrees outside. But, yeah, anyway. You ever worried about like in a city and you might need something? I swear, that might be my if I didn't have a weapon, if I could probably have anything else, I'd take a bottle of bear spray. Haven't experienced. You don't have to spray much of it. It shoots a long distance too. That's the other thing about bear spray. You can like hit somebody from 30 feet away. They did it like point blank to my face though. So. No, I assure you, it's not less. No, you're 1,000,000% wrong about that. Watch videos of people taking pepper spray, and then look at how long I could not see for. People just had to keep dumping the water over my face until finally, finally, could open the eyes again. All right, you guys, we'll leave it there. Hopefully, you never have to deal with bear spray in your face. It's definitely not something that you want to have on your list of accomplishments. All right, True Seeker. Until next time.